Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, we have stories involving Bigfoot and Dogman, mermaids, or at least aquatic humanoids, and walking trees. Let's get into the first story titled, You Doubt Bigfoot and Dogman? They Do Exist? Skeptical Witness Reconsiders Cryptid Reports. Let's get into this story and hear how this skeptic became a believer, folks, or at least possibly a believer, and maybe a full-on. A witness recalls a frightening but inconclusive encounter with the so-called Michigan Monster in central Michigan in 1971. Decades later, after reportedly observing Bigfoot on 6 separate occasions, the experience took on new significance and forced him to reconsider what may be roaming Michigan's forests. That is one hell of an opening. Let's hear how this skeptic has to reconsider the evidence he's presented with, folks. Let's get into it now. A skeptic's first Bigfoot sighting. In 2018, I saw my first Bigfoot. Since then, I have been, as his own words basically have said, folks, I have seen them on 6 occasions. There's no question in my mind that they exist. People can scoff all they want, but their doubts do not affect the reality of what I experienced. The 1971 Michigan encounter. Here is the thing. In 1971, at Central Michigan, I had a rather frightening, though inconclusive experience with what I suspect was a Michigan monster, then known as the Michigan Monster Dede. An animal like that would more commonly be referred to as Dogman. I have since met several people in this area whose accounts I have every reason to believe. They claim to have encountered a similar creature in these woods. One of those witnesses reportedly observed it at very close range for several minutes, which I would have given plenty of time to get a clear look. That's interesting, folks, that this guy's considering that these entities now truly exist. Reconsidering what may be out there. Let's read this part of his story. As much as I do not want to believe in such a thing, my Bigfoot experiences and encounters were a serious shock to my skepticism. Because of those experiences, I no longer feel that I can casually dismiss the possibility that other identified creatures may exist. There are certainly enough stories from this region, independent of the witnesses I personally know, to raise the possibility that something unusual may be living in these forests. Your featured encounter account struck me as, truthful. It was almost exactly what I would expect from a genuine encounter. Nothing in the report appeared inconsistent, and what we know, or with what might be possible, there was no obvious exaggeration or hype in the account. The witness was referring to my May 1981 Bigfoot encounter near Shakesville, Maryland. Very interesting account, folks. This guy's entire way of thinking has been changed over decades with these entities. And, like with other accounts we've read through, folks, where, someone encounters a Bigfoot or a ghost, they will often be in encounters where they will basically see other types of cryptids, like frogmen, or basically mermaids, or even just, creatures that no one can really explain, like shadow people. So, that is something to basically remember, folks, that if you see one thing, you're bound to see other things, too. It just seems to happen to some people. But let's read on and finally finish off this article. Taking precautions. Whether I want to believe in these creatures or not, I have decided to behave as though there is at least a possibility that they are out there. I never go into the woods alone or unarmed. I have even obtained a larger firearm. The original experience may have involved mistaken identity for fear affecting my perception. However, should the creature be real, I do not intend to place myself completely at its mercy. That would not be prudent. Indeed, even if these creatures are peaceful, because there's no written report of these entities ever actually killing anyone, folks, sometimes rushing at someone, but never actually basically hurting them. This includes Bigfoot and even basically Dogman, folks. So they might actually be peaceful, but that doesn't mean you should go into the woods unarmed. If only for the fact that other animals like bears and, maybe large, basically predatory cats can also basically attack you like mountain lions. But either way, folks, a smart idea to basically go armed, I would have to say. Now, do you believe that this guy actually saw Bigfoot 6 times? That's, wow. And do you think he also basically saw maybe, the Dogman before anyone really basically gave it a name? If true, folks, this guy might be one of the luckiest, or, cursed people I've ever met who see so many, cryptids one after the other. I mean, I only saw Dogman and Bigfoot, but to see and have so many accounts is truly out there and basically makes you think, wow, what could actually be out in the woods that we just think, or at least most people think, are just myths and legends. Either way, it's something, once again, to just sit back and ruminate on the reality of the entire situation. But folks, we probably can't basically take that much longer. Only I'll say this, that these cryptids, including the story we're about to read now, I do believe exist. Could they be interdimensional interlopers, alien beings? I think the possibility is very strong for both. Now, let's move on to the next story, titled Aliso Beach Green-Skinned Aquatic Humanoid Swimmer Claims Mer Cryptid Tried to Pull Her Underwater. This is an account we've heard about before, folks. Not this particular story, but basically people in the water being pulled down by something. And this seems to be another account. But let's read on before we discuss any points on that, folks. A local resident identified as Christian reported a disturbing encounter with an aquatic humanoid while swimming off Aliso Beach in Laguna Beach, California. The alleged entity was described as female, green-skinned, human-like, and powerful enough to drag the witness beneath the surface. Though this case remains unverified and is classified as a fictional investigative report, the details echo long-standing coastal folklore involving mer beings, water spirits, and predatory humanoids seen near shorelines. Now here's an artist's, or basically the witness's interpretation of what she saw, folks. This blue mermaid-like being that sort of resembles another account I did recently of this black-skinned or lizard-like being, folks. Let's read on, though. I was swimming in the water of Aliso Beach when I noticed something moving beneath the surface. At first, I thought it was just a shadow in the water, maybe a seal or some kind of marine animal, but then it started coming straight toward me. The shape looked almost human. The initial setting. As it got closer, I could see what looked like a woman moving through the water. She had long, dark hair and pale green skin. Her body was roughly human in shape, but there was something completely unnatural about the way she moved. She was fast, much faster than a person should be able to swim. I remember freezing for a second because I could not make sense of what I was seeing. It looked like a woman, but her skin was green. Her face appeared human, but everything about her felt wrong because she was not human, folks. She looked human, but she was not. She sounds, from the description, folks, like some sort of aquatic entity, perhaps some sort of water spirit, perhaps? Maybe. But let's read on once again and discuss these ideas later. The attack. Before I could react, she was on me. She grabbed at my legs from beneath the water. The strength was unbelievable. It felt like something clamped onto me and started pulling me down. I kicked and fought as hard as I could, trying to break loose. For a moment, I managed to get away. I started swimming toward shore as fast as I could. Honestly... Or should I say, I honestly thought I had escaped. But then I felt her behind me again. A few seconds later, she grabbed me a second time. Now, it's said that basically aquatic beings, like these water spirits, sometimes river or lake entities, and even entities in the ocean, folks, will drag these people down. Sometimes they're basically doing this because they're maybe spirits of the dead, though this doesn't sound like some sort of undead entity. It doesn't look like a skeleton or anything like that. It truly looks like some sort of mermaid-like being. But our, witness here doesn't say that she had a tail or anything like that. But still, she had fisher-like qualities for sure. But once again, let's get back to the witness's story. Dragged beneath the surface. This time, she pulled me underwater. I do not know how deep I went. Everything happened so fast. I remember the pressure, the panic, and the feeling that I was not going to make it back up. I could not see clearly, and I was struggling to break free of her grip. I honestly thought I was going to drown. Somehow I broke free again and struggled back toward the surface. Good for a witness, folks. But once again we have to ask, why was this entity trying to drown her? Was she really doing that? Or perhaps this was part of an abduction attempt, folks, by this aquatic being. Or aquatic alien, extraterrestrial being, folks. Then again, we don't know for sure. It also sounds very similar to other accounts of mythological encounters with cryptid, water-going beings, folks. But once again, let's drive off on these comments until after we finish the story. Rescue and aftermath. Nearby lifeguards apparently noticed that he was in distress. One of them entered the water and helped bringing me back to shore. I was shaken, exhausted, and terrified. Emergency medical personnel treated me at the beach before I was transported to a local hospital for evaluation. I still don't know what I saw. I only know that it looked like a green-skinned woman. It moved as if it belonged in the water, and it tried to pull me under. Now, this account, the thing with it, folks, there's no actual accounts of these types of entities harming anyone. I mean, we don't have bodies or anything like that, nothing directly relating to this, folks, proving that these entities are malevolent, that they're demons or some sort of alien beings that are basically here for some, well, more nefarious purpose to harm people. But as I said, folks, I have my doubts about that. But this story clearly shows that maybe there is some merit in the idea that you should protect yourselves, because maybe these beings aren't good. Maybe they really are hostile. But now, folks, let's move on to the next story. Southern California witness claims walking trees at Green River Golf Course. And here we have another story involving witnesses seeing walking trees. I've read other accounts of, well, plant-like entities before, folks. They could be aliens, and maybe this is another such account, but let's read it now. A Southern California witness recalls a strange nighttime incident at Green River Golf Course located near the 91 freeway in the Corona and Santa Ana Canyon area. While sneaking into the course with two others to fish one of the back lakes, the group says they saw something so bizarre that they stopped in their tracks and left without casting a line. According to the witnesses, the trees around the lake appeared to move away as if startled by their approach. It could be that basically they mistook, well, natural movements for actual walking trees. Perhaps maybe the trees were falling down, folks. We can discuss, well, that as well in this, well, story. So let's read on. This is a true story. We used to sneak into the Green River Golf Course off the 91 freeway in Southern California to fish. It was a long walk in, and there were a couple of lakes on the course. One lake, the best for fishing, was at the far back of the course. It rested against a big hill. One night, my cousin, another friend, and I were walking toward the lake. We were almost there when the trees surrounding the lake suddenly started walking. I know how that sounds, but that is exactly what it looked like. There were maybe 6 to 10 of them around the lake. It was as if we had startled them. Half of them moved one way, and the other half moved the opposite way. It was crazy. Now, folks, my idea here is that perhaps these trees could have been falling, or the witnesses saw a couple of trees basically swaying so far that it looked like it was, well, like they were walking. Because I've seen other videos with basically trees falling, and basically some of the witnesses said it was like they were just walking away and stuff like that. So maybe that's what happened here, but let's read on. From the moonlight, we could see the silhouettes moving. It looked like the trees had just started walking, as if they were trying to clear out before we got there. We stopped dead in our tracks and never fished that night. Nobody believes that story, but it happened. I've seen UFOs too, and that is no big deal to me. That stuff is 1% real, and no doubt, but that night I saw the trees move. It really happened. Now, it could be that maybe this is another case in which the witnesses saw paranormal activity. Maybe some sort of, well, I mentioned earlier that the aquatic being that was seen in the water was some sort of, well, eldritch, maybe nature spirit, or along those lines, folks. It could be what these men saw were dryads, tree spirits, folks. Now, in a lot of accounts with dryads, they're supposed to basically be female entities, much like basically the aquatic female entity that was described in, well, the report earlier. And as I said earlier, folks, this green-skinned woman sounds very reminiscent of the black-skinned woman with scales and basically, well, fish-like, basically ears and stuff on her face, folks, that was seen as well. Basically, the scales on her face, basically, if they weren't black, they were basically had red highlights, so you get the idea. Very similar to basically the picture, well, you're looking at right now. It's hard to describe, but maybe these entities are some sort of nature spirits, or maybe a separate species that lives alongside us, folks. And the other stories, all of them are truly just as strange as each other. And all I can say is, hopefully, more information, and more stories like this come out in the future. Either way, we're at the end, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure at the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.